What is up, football fans, but most importantly, USFL fans, to the USFL Authority, episode 14. Webb, can you believe we have done 14 episodes of this show?
That's crazy, man. It's
a lot.
3 months, 3.5 months, and it's just crazy to me. Like, it's gone by so fast.
It's really surprising. Yeah, I feel like we just started the show.
Yeah.
Like, we've been doing our shows for our teams, and then you were like, hey, we should do this show. Yeah. And I felt like that was a couple weeks ago, but it was 3.5 months ago.
Yeah, well, we went to Canton, and now we're halfway done throughout the season, and it's absolutely mind-blowing to me.
Yeah, that 3 weeks of travel for me was rough, but
yeah.
All right. Well, we have a good episode today. We are nearing the midway point of the regular season for the USFL. So we are doing our power rankings. We're going to each give our player of the week overall, our week 4 predictions. Then we're going to do week 5 predictions. I should have changed that. And then team hashtags. So every team has their own hashtag, hashtag all in, hashtag for Philly, hashtag drop the hammer, hammer time. And so we're going to create our own hashtag for each team, depending on how their season's been going. So that'll be fun. And then, as always, our producer, KB, is going to hit us with a blindside question that we have no idea what it is, no preparation, and we're just going to answer truthfully right there. So let's get going. We have the power rankings. Let me get my screen shared. All right. Whoa. My screen freaked out. Uh-oh. There we go. Boy. All right. Now we got it. So the post week 4 power rankings. The interesting thing to me is that 1, 2, and 3 did not move. And that's with 3 losing, but they lost to number 1. So understandable. But I don't know. What do you think about the power rankings as a whole?
I think they're spot on. The only question I have is that the Panthers may be too high right now, honestly. I think the Showboats probably have a case for number 6. I know they only have 1 win and the Panthers have 2, but I just feel like the Panthers have dropped off quite a bit in the last 2 weeks, and I know the Maulers are playing them this week, and I know me and Maverick have gone back and forth all season on who's not going to finish in last place. So it might be a little personal for me, but I think the Showboats are closer to the Panthers than any other team. And I put your Gamblers 3rd, so I actually put them higher than the Generals. So
hey, I appreciate that. I think I put the Gamblers at 4 because I don't want to. In my own head, I'm super superstitious, right? I grew up watching like hockey, which is the most superstitious sport on earth. So I was like, if I put them at 3, then we're definitely going to lose because I shot too high. So I put them at 4, and I think that's a fun place. And I preached it on my show. Our fate is in our own hands. If we win this week, then, we jump up, right? We could possibly be this number 2 team. So I'm very excited about it, but I was optimistically hopeful. But so you're too high as the Panthers. Man, it fell exactly how I put it. So I don't even have it too high or too low. This is exactly what I put for my rankings.
I had your Gamblers are too low for me. I was just thinking about it. I put them number 2 actually this week. After the Stallions performance, I have the Stallions at 4 actually, and the Generals at 3. So I just think your Gamblers are hitting their stride, and right now I feel like the Stallions and Generals are kind of stuck in neutral, like they're just surviving these couple of weeks. I believe actually our teams, the Maulers and the Gamblers, are ascending if the Maulers can score a touchdown, and I feel like the Panthers are fading so fast, just like the Stars. And I think the Boats are just there. Like they'll be opportunistic when they're playing teams like the Panthers and the Stars. Well, I guess they lost to the Panthers, right?
They beat the Panthers.
No, they beat the Panthers.
That was their first win.
They lost to the Stars last week.
Yes.
The first week.
I was there.
I think if they're playing teams that are kind of the middle of the pack, they can beat them, but I don't think they're consistent enough to get in the top 4, if that makes sense.
Oh, no. The Showboats, I think they're still not that good. I just don't think that they're that good. I think the Panthers, I am not as down on them as you are. I think their defense is still good. They had a very bad week against the Generals because I think they game planned for a lot more Prue Cup and Johnson than just Johnson. And it showed that when you have a running quarterback, you can do things that the defense just can't really handle or prepare for. I think the Panthers defense is better than they showed that game. And even though they lost to the Showboats, they were still in it. And this is still professional football, right? Like any of these teams could beat any of these teams on any given week. So I don't have them super down, but they have to figure out offense. They have to figure out the quarterback. I'm tired of we're going into week 5. It's Carson Strong or it's Josh Love. Do not pull them. Whoever you start, finish the game. I think that is your best opportunity to win, like in my opinion.
That's fair. And to go back to your quarterback and mobility and everything, offensive line play on the Panthers has been horrendous the last couple weeks. But if you look at these power rankings, Breakers, MBT can run a little bit. Stallions.
Whoa. You're saying MBT? He can.
No.
He's
hold
Big
on,
Ben.
hold on. He is more mobile than the Panthers. Wait until my point. Just hear me all the way out.
Okay.
The Stallions, Magoo can run a little bit. Johnson, we already know. Bahar can run. Troy Williams, we can run. Are we seeing a trend here where the teams with the mobile quarterbacks are actually the top 5 teams right now in this league? Because Cole Kelly, not really. Cookish, not really. Josh Love, Carson Strong, not really. So right now, it's just crazy to me. Just looking at it, and it just came to me actually. The mobile quarterbacks are moving to the top of this league faster than I think last year.
I've always been saying that, and a lot of people are calling for Eric Berrier to start for the Panthers because that's something that, look at the stars. Bart Andrus literally said in a press conference, he said, every time I get a call about a player, I hope it's a big man. He hopes it's an offensive line. He said, because there's a very set amount of large, athletic enough people to play offensive line in this world, and all the ones that are worth anything are in the NFL. Yeah. So it's so hard. I think that is by far the hardest position. A lot of people like to say, oh, quarterback play is the most dependent thing in a spring league. I don't think so, because you can have a quarterback like Josh Love, Carson Strong, Case Cookis, who they can sling a ball and they can make NFL throws. But if you don't have anybody to block for them, then they don't matter. So my position that is by far the hardest in the spring league is offensive line. I think that is so incredibly hard. I think that's a great part of some of the teams that are in the top 4. The Gamblers, they have all the same offensive line, except for one guy. They cut him because they pulled in a guy who was coming off of a practice squad from the NFL. The Generals, mostly the same offensive line. The Stallions, mostly the same. Breakers kept a lot of their offense intact. So the offenses that saw a lot of change there are the ones that are falling down because they can't protect the quarterback.
Or they brought back the same guys that couldn't protect the quarterback.
Yeah. The Stars have mostly the same offensive line, but now they're hurt and they weren't that good last year. So that's tough. But whatever. So that's what
have either of you looked at the league standings?
The ones that RJ Young put out?
No, the one on the USFL website.
The league standings.
Just regular standings.
It's got the Generals, the Panthers, and the Gamblers all tied for 3rd.
Generals, Panthers, and Gamblers.
And Gamblers. Well, mine has.
Well, they're all 2-2, right?
Yeah.
Mine has Generals 1, Panthers 2, Maulers 3, Stars 4. Or I guess that's division. Let's go league. You're right. It does have all 3 tied for 3.
Right, and it's got Maulers, Showboats, and Stars tied in 4th. So
they're all 1 and 3.
Yeah, I think that one is entirely going off of
just plain record.
Win-loss.
But then why would the Generals be above the Panthers when the Panthers have more points for?
Because the Generals beat the Panthers.
True. And the Panthers have a loss 2 record. So that makes sense. Okay. All right. What was it? Okay. So now we have talked about power rankings. We have beaten it to death on a week where we saw a lot of movement, but also not that much. The top didn't change. The bottom is just shuffling. Every week it's shuffling, and I kind of love that. So
listen, man, I love it. The Maulers lost and moved up. We're good.
That's ridiculous. Oh my gosh. The Gamblers have never had that kind of I don't know. No one's ever given us that kind of leniency. Even last year, we were barely losing every game, and people were like, nope, no, not going to happen. I was like, all right. So now we move on to, oops, that's not what I wanted to do. Now we move on to our player of the week. So, Webb, who is your player of the week?
I'm going with your guy, Mark Thompson. He was electric. 3 touchdowns.
10
13 carries, 134 yards, man. 10. You get a first down every carry. Like, and if you're tuning into Hammer Time, I'm talking about our rushing attack. I believe
bad.
if you take away Williams rushing, it was like 16 carries for
It's
like
not
48
good.
yards.
Yeah.
It just was really bad. So to have a running back 10 yards a carry, I'm super jealous right now. I'm just super jealous. But Mark Thompson he's good for the league because he is electric and he's exciting, and he just looks kind of awesome running in that gambler uniform. Actually, it just fits his kind of style. I guess I don't know. I watch him and he looks like a gambler to me. That's just me,
dude. Same. This week watching the game, it was what I've always hoped being a Gamblers fan would be like.
Jim Kelly.
Yeah, like I'm a Vikings fan, so it's a lot of disappointment. I'm a Cubs fan in baseball, so like we had that one good season. So I've never like rooting for a great team. I've never been a Patriots fan like you in the Brady era, So I said in the Brady era, but it's hard. So having someone like Mark Thompson, like it reminds me of the old days with Adrian Peterson, where we'd get there, but we have Kenji Bahar, who's once Thompson takes the pressure off of him, dude can spin it, man.
Yeah.
That's cool. But Mark Thompson, I made the case on my show that he is the best running back in this league right now. He is number one. And you're not going to find me on that because ball, and I'm right. Because he had 13 rushes. Wes Hills, they were like, he had over 100-yard game on 34 carries. I'm like, yeah, if he hadn't, then he had like a broken leg. What is this guy doing? Man, They run him so much. It's insane.
Yeah, well, he started to slow down a little bit when he facing the Generals. He didn't have 100 yards. He had 26 carries for 88 yards. That's not great numbers.
Dude, they feed him. They say, 8 touchdowns. It says, okay. But every time they get in the red zone, they just punch the ball in with him 3 plays in a row. Like MBT. I'll tell you, having MBT and Anthony Jones on my fantasy football team, Wes Hills is the worst thing in my opinion. But that's just because of me. But my player of the week is going to be a man who has been pretty silent at the beginning of the season that I really had high hopes for. And then he came out this week and absolutely showed why I had high hopes. Shalom Luani, number 5, Generals. Yeah. That dude is a killer. He is the kind of defender I love watching, where he goes out when he tackles, he throws his entire body into it. He does not care about his own self. He wants to get the tackle. Now, given he did miss a couple tackles, he missed Sage Surratt and another receiver on a drag, but he's not the fastest guy, but he hits like a house. The dude had 12 tackles, a tackle for loss, an interception, and a pass deflection. Yeah. He was all over the field. That was crazy. I mean,
he's awesome. My favorite general. He's the one
too.
guy in the general. Well, I like Chris Orr.
Toby's cool. I like Toby. He's a cool
Toby's
guy.
Cool. No, I'm saying like to fit
as a player,
player only, not the whole package.
Yeah.
Luani's one of my favorites. Chris Orr is obviously, but Luani is
the only person who had more tackles than him in that game. Shalom had 12 and Chris Orr had 13. And they were the top 2.
PFF had their football rankings, and I know you can go back and forth with PFF. No, but the number 1 player in the league is Chris Orr.
Is it really?
Through the 4 weeks, and Foster's second.
Dude, Chris Orr is making a case for Defensive Player of the Year.
Yeah, and Chris Orr looks like an NFL talent this year. He's all everywhere.
I thought about making him my Player of the Week, but Shalom Luani to have 1 less tackle, a pass deflection, and an interception. Yeah. I mean, everybody in the USFL community was tweeting about that guy for the first half of that game. I mean, he was the person to talk about. That's my player. So for you, my man, Marky Mark and the Truckee Bunch. And for me, it's Shalom Luani. And the man has his photo on Twitter. I absolutely love it every time I tag him because it's just like him and his family. Like it's his wife and their kid. And I'm like, this guy's a good dude. He's such a good dude. So absolutely love making him my player of the week. But okay. So what did we have next was our week 4 predictions. Week 5. Dang it. I'll fix that. I'm not going to. But you get what I'm saying. So let's go through it without the graphic first, and then I'll pull the graphic up after.
Okay.
All right, cool.
We're
So
changing up.
Maulers of Panthers. You know, my brother covers the Panthers. I'm going to say this one first. Man, I do love me some Panthers. I'm going Maulers this week. I just don't believe that their offensive troubles are going to figure it out and get fixed the week they play the best defense in the league. I just don't see that happening.
You couldn't say it any better. That defensive line. Olive's got 4 sacks. He leads the league in sacks. No one talks about him. I know we all talk about Breland.
Well, I talk about him.
Speaks because he had 3 sacks in the first week, but Olive's been pretty consistent. Him and Boogie have been getting to the quarterback. And if the Panthers have offensive line issues, this is not the week it's going to get cured. I don't care what happens with the linebackers or Tizino, anything. They're going to hit him. And you know what the best thing about the Maulers? They finally started to pass the ball. Like they actually had passing yards over 150. Like it was 200 yards of passing, man. Like we had 200 yards of passing. Like I did the math. We had more passing last week than we did week 1 and week 2 combined. Like
it's like
Troy Williams doubled his passing yards last week in 1 week out of the 4.
Yeah. I mean, it's like how the Gamblers against the Stars, the Gamblers had more rush yards in that game than the Stars had the entire season. That's kind of how y'all are passing because you just, oh my gosh, there was no pass game. With James Morgan, it was painful. Well,
it was offensive line. It goes back to the offensive line. Same thing, Panthers.
He was still throwing some bad passes. I think Troy Williams was
mobility.
The answer.
Yeah, no mobility.
Yeah, even after we visited their camp, we saw their scrimmage. I thought Troy should be the guy.
Yeah.
So I'm glad they finally got there. He's showing why. And I think with him, it just feels more like there's a chemistry within the team, right? Because he does have history with people on the team.
Trey Walker.
And so, Trey Walker with Boogie, it just seems like there's more of a team. They're building a brand with him, right? And he's the hardworking quarterback where he's going to go out and run and he like never slides. And I feel like that's the Pittsburgh attitude. So I like Troy Williams. I think that they will have a decent enough week offensively to beat the Panthers. I think it could still be a close game just because the Maulers are unable to not have a close game. But but I think they get it. Now,
I think it's 28-9. And like you said,
really?
Yeah, it's probably 28-10. I'm just saying Cole Murphy's going to miss an extra point because me and Maverick go back and forth with who has the better kicker because Chris Blewett made it has been money with Mangle right now. So I'm just saying 28-9.
Cole Murphy's also great.
He is pretty good, but I get Chris Blewett made it. So
that's the one thing that this league definitely has hand over fist over the 3-letter league. Our kicking is so much better.
Yeah.
But I digress. All right. So the next game.
Yep.
Gamblers and Stallions.
Wow.
This is the most toss-up-y one to me.
I think this is the first time all year that the Gamblers and the Maulers are playing on the same day.
Yeah. And the Panthers. I'm very excited. All 3 of us get to know how our weekends are going before Sunday, which is great.
Yeah.
Because the Gamblers literally do ruin my day. So if they lose, I'm not in a good
mood. I
mood.
love it because I got kids and everything. Mother's Day is Sunday, so
yeah.
See,
should buy flowers. All right.
Yeah.
So thank you for reminding me that. But for this game, I think that the Stallions have been. I just feel like they've been lucky, right? Like to have a 95-yard kick return to win the game against the Maulers, where you did not play well enough to win the game. Like that's just luck. So, and I think that the Gamblers have put it together. Last week, they got rid of the mistakes because, against the Showboats, the first half, we were trying to give it away. We had so many penalties. Like, we just looked like we weren't ready. We weren't mature enough. And then this week, everything fell into place. When you can pull your starting quarterback in the beginning of the fourth quarter, because you're like, we have won. That's so cool. And I don't know. I just feel it. I feel it in my bones. I want the Gamblers.
Without a doubt. To steal the hashtag all in on this Gamblers offense right now. I'm still unsure about the defense.
The defense is getting better.
It's getting better, but I know everyone talks about Alex Magoo, but if you really look at his stats outside of that 1 week
against the Showboats game,
the Showboats, he's pretty average. Like you can't say he's at MBT level. Bahar has outperformed him consistently outside of the turnovers every week, but yardage and completions and all that.
And his turnovers are getting better every week.
No, I
Half
know.
of his turnovers are week one.
I watch your show. It's decreased by 1. This week it's -1.
1-0. This week he's gonna somehow pull the ball out of Magoo's hands. But he has shown a maturity, a growth in the offense, which is great. And our defense is getting better. I think it took time. It makes sense though, because our defense, we had 2 people returning from last year.
Yeah.
Maybe we had 4. So we had 4. One of them doesn't start. One of them does start. The other 2, one got cut and one's on IR. So we have one guy who starts who was on our defense last year. Or 2, I guess. Whatever. There's numbers. But then the fact that we picked up Elijah Jones, who he came in last week or 2 weeks ago, then he got up to the active roster the next week, and then he had 2 interceptions. Now this week we pick up Isaiah Lewis, who he's coming off of the 2023 draft. He didn't get drafted. So then Coach Bob reaches out to him because who was his DB coach and his defensive coordinator in college? Our DB coach and defensive coordinator. So I think our defense is only getting better as it matures, as they learn to play together. So I'm just they're growing on me. I love it. Because after week 1, I was like, we may have the worst defense in this league. I was like, this is terrible. But they have just grown and shown the maturity and that they're figuring out how to do this defense. And then the fact that Chris Wilson called one of the best defensive series we had in that game while simultaneously getting interviewed was crazy. That was so insane.
Yeah.
Oh, he didn't miss a beat. I love Chris Wilson. Chris, if you're watching, still one of my favorite coaches. Love you, man. Okay. So game 3. Woo! We have Generals at Stars. This one is just like the easiest pick of the weekend. You want to say it together? Let's do it. 3, 2, 1. Stars.
Generals.
Sorry. I meant Generals. No, just kidding. So yeah, Generals. The Stars look terrible.
Yeah. Oh, well, their offensive line can't block anyone.
Offensive line won't block, which is crazy because Cookus is still, I think he's number 2 in the league in passing yards.
Yeah, but he also is one of the only positions that they've taken every snap. You know what I mean? Like you're going to get more. We'll say it's like the Tiamu rule last year, right? Like he was the most passing yards, but it was because it's a counting stat. It's not because he had the most chances. You would say Tiamu was.
You got to admit that's no. He's one of the best now in his league now. But Cookus, you got to also think that this dude is always on the ground. I feel terrible for him. The fact that he's completing any passes when he is getting just murdered.
Well, he also lost Roland this week, right?
Yeah, Chris Roland.
That's a big loss for him.
Dude, not just for the offense, but the fact that Chris Roland is on every special teams. He does everything. That guy, he's the kind of guy you want to coach. He's the guy you want on your team. Yeah. He'll tackle, he'll catch the ball, run the ball, and he can pass. A little Friday night lights, but I was upset to see him get hurt, but it makes sense when someone's doing that much and going that hard all the time. So that's sad.
Yeah. But
I think they're going to be bad.
Yeah, this is going to be an easy win. I think you might see some Pro Cup. You might see a lot of DJ, right? You're going to see some Vito, maybe some Trey Williams finally. I don't know.
We saw Trey Williams last week. He had a sweet
touchdown.
He had the one great touchdown, but otherwise they really didn't use him much.
Yeah. I'm just saying, like, he was on the inactive for the first couple weeks, correct? So, like,
I think he was hurt. He didn't even play in the scrimmage when we were up there.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
But I would love to see, last year they would do it where what's his name? Luis Perez would stand there and he'd have Trey Williams and Vito on either side in a shotgun formation. And that is a scary offense.
Yeah.
So to have DeAndre, Vito, and Trey, I mean, you could run a triple option all game and possibly never get stopped because of those three. So that's just a scary offense that I would love to see be completely healthy. And to have the worst defense in the league in the Stars and the worst offensive line and the worst run game, they'd have to show me something huge this week for me to believe that they had any chance to get back to where they were last year.
Yeah, without a doubt. I think they lose this week and the winner
is done.
And And if the Panthers pull off the win, they're definitely done.
Oh,
if
100%.
If the Maulers, they got a slight chance, I guess, a little bit because they do play them later on this season. But I just feel if the Panthers get to 3-2 and they're what they would be 1-4 with 5 to go, there's no way they're coming back.
Yeah. No.
So
Generals all the way.
Mr. Andrews.
100%.
Yeah.
And then the last game of the weekend is the Showboats at Breakers. Now, this one, it feels obvious, but it also feels like the highest chance of an upset. The Showboats, I don't know what it is about Cole Kelly, but that man gets that team going. He's just,
he's a fighter, man.
He's a fighter. He's the kind of guy where he doesn't always make the right decision. He doesn't always think through his progressions as fast as you want him to, but he will his way to get yards. He's also, people bounce off of this 6'7", 225 or 250 pound man. He's ginormous.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Last week, like what I think Myrick, he flew in and had a dead to right sack and he hit him. And because he's so big, it just took Cole Kelly so long to fall down that he was able to look around and throw the ball at his running back's feet because Terry Myrick wasn't able to just nail him and take him down the way that he would on any other quarterback in this league. So that's crazy. The dude is just a physical anomaly while also fighting super hard to get any kind of anything going for this offense. So if an upset happens this weekend, it is this game. But I'm still going to pick the Breakers.
The thing about it, this is the only game where, that's true.
I'm still picking the Breakers.
The Gamblers, Stallions, I could see it going either way, right? The Maulers, Panthers, I could see going either way. You can make a case for any of those.
Yeah.
Generals and Stars, if the Stars beat them, it's definitely the Boats. There's no way the Stars are beating the Generals, so you're right about that.
This is the one that I think we could see an upset where just it's a shootout because the Breakers have been known to have a shootout. They, were lucky to pull out the win against the Gamblers. They were lucky to pull out the win. Well, not really. They were lucky to pull out the win against the Generals, and the Stallions should have been closer. So their defense hasn't been able to hold teams the way that they were last year. So this is the one where I think the Showboats can keep in it. And then if they get a couple lucky plays, they could pull it out.
Well, they only beat the Maulers by 7 points, and the Maulers offense had like 130 total yards.
Total yards.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. What did James Morgan have, like 78 yards after that game? I did that graphic. It was painful.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. I was like,
you
don't have to post
hey, you got to post this. And I'm like,
I was like, you can have the other team's rep post this.
Yeah. That's what I've been doing. Painful. But this is definitely the game that could be an upset. I don't see it happening. I think I think the Breakers will be the first team to clinch Canton or the playoffs. And I think that by week 7, I think they play you guys week 7. That's the game that I want to see. But with the way things are breaking, like I feel like they're going to be comfortable making it to the playoffs at this time.
Fair enough. All right, so we each have the Breakers. All right, now we are going into our fun segment we've only ever done one time. So this is the second time. We did our preseason team hashtags, and now we are doing our midseason. So let it roll. All right. So for anybody who didn't see the last time we did this before the season, every team has their own hashtag. We have hashtag all in, hashtag for Philly, hashtag showtime, hashtag drop the hammer, hashtag in the trenches, hashtag let's hunt, hashtag go blue wave, hashtag giddy up.
You got them.
That was so hard. Okay, so each team has their own hashtags, but we are going to come up with our own creative hashtags that kind of help describe the team at this point in the season, midway point. So, which team do you want to start with?
Let's go with we'll start with your team, Gamblers. We'll go there.
Gamblers.
Yep.
Hashtag. You know what? You start. Give me a second because I know you prepared, but I kind of wanted to shoot from the hip on this one. And I wanted to see what I was feeling.
Double or nothing. They're either going to continue this rise, they're going to double their chips, or they're going to end up with nothing. I think we'll find out pretty fast. I think they got the Stallions, and I believe you got What do you got next week? I think you got the Generals next week. No, yeah, because the Maulers
want to know each week, man. Want to know each week. I'm not looking at next week.
You got the Ponies and the Generals in the next 2 weeks.
That's tough.
That's a tough week. So you're gonna know in the next 2 weeks where you stand, like
True.
pretty accurately. I know you can say that about everyone, but like you guys are ascending right now, and like I said, I put you guys number 2 in the power rankings. These 2 weeks got to prove that you guys are already there. So I say double or nothing. Hashtag double or nothing.
Hashtag cards on the table. I think at this point we have finally shown what we are able to do. And I think we finally, the cards are on the table. We've shown what we got, and we just have to prove that we can consistently do that. If we play like we did last week, if we play like we did even against the Breakers, I thought we played a great offensive game except for the one errant interception. I think we've shown our hand, and everybody else is like, well, that's a good hand. So we just have to roll with it and be consistent. That's what we have to do. So, I'm nervous, man. I've never cared about a team like this, but all right. So for the next team, let's do the Showboats. Showboats going into week 5. They have 1 win. They acted like it was their Super Bowl. So it's tough. What's your hashtag?
Hashtag leaking.
Dang. That's pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah, like
that's harsh.
They didn't sink yet.
No,
they're treading water, I guess.
So it's not hashtag sinking; it's hashtag leaking.
Yeah, which is better. It's better to be leaking than sinking.
Well, mine.
I feel like they might have found their quarterback.
Yeah, I think they have.
I just feel like I don't know, man. They're just there right now. I like they don't excite me a lot.
No.
On either side of the ball or even special teams. So hashtag leaking is all I can come up with.
So their situation feels a lot like Michigan's last year, where Michigan had Shea Patterson. He went to Michigan, so they had to start him week 1. And then Brady White went to Memphis. They made him the poster boy of the team, so they had to start with him. They had to give him as many chances as they could, whereas if they had just started Cole Kelly, maybe they have another win under their belt. Mine is hashtag burn the boats. Now, for anybody that doesn't know, this is an old Viking kind of story saying that's kind of gotten overtaken by D-bags online, but we used it back when I was in high school for my senior year. That was our quote, was burn the boats. It's that the Vikings, this certain Viking tribe, when they would land on a beach, they would burn their own boats. They'd light their boats on fire because they said, we're either taking over this village and we're going to go home on their boats, or we're not going home at all because we've lost. So it's just basically saying like, we're all in, everything's on the table. It's do or die right now. And I think that's how they should act. At this point, take the risks. If you want to fake a punt, do it. If you want to do a double pass, do it. You have nothing else left. You might as well burn the boats and just go for it.
Fair enough.
Heck yeah.
That's a good one.
All right. What's the third team you want?
Generals.
All right, Generals.
You go first.
Hashtag ground and pound, man. Hashtag ground and pound. They're really not showing you a lot in the air. What they're showing is that they have a quarterback who can run. You can't catch him. And they have one of the best running backs in the league. And his backup is another one of the best running backs in the league. So, I mean, they're just able to do so much without even putting the ball in the air that much that they are team ground and pound. They are the old style football. I mean, not really the running quarterback, but they're just going to kill you on their feet. I feel like you're laughing because yours is close. What is it?
Old Yeller.
What?
Old Yeller. They didn't bring the dog out back. You know the story, Old Yeller, right?
Webb.
What? They didn't bring the dog out back?
No, they haven't. They haven't yet. Okay. It's just the man's best friend. They're reliable.
Are you calling Mike Riley old?
So the dog hasn't.
It's before the end of the story of Old Yeller. All right, it's like the first.
Webb, I know how Old Yeller ends.
It's sad.
Webb, they shoot the dog, right?
Yes, I know they shoot the dog.
Because the dog tries to eat the kid. What?
I'm just saying they're like oh,
You
they're
need
reliable. They're just reliable. They're just there. They're just traditional. They're the same thing they've always been, and eventually it will catch up with them, and that's when you bring them out back. Like that's really what I was trying to go at. But you guys,
Time to take them out to pasture and just
towards
take
the
care,
end,
go live on
take
the
care
farm.
of the dog with the shotgun.
You're gonna go live on the farm.
I'm gonna mute my mic.
All right, stars. Just go with the stars.
Hashtag dimming.
Yeah.
What's yours?
Fair enough. Hashtag faded.
Yeah, mine makes more sense, but yeah.
Yeah.
They're just falling apart. They're falling off. They're not there anymore. They're not the team they were last year. And it's kind of sad to me because while it's a double-edged sword. I loved the fact that the Gamblers blew them out. And it was everything I wanted ever since I started following this team. Watching my team click on all cylinders. Everybody that I've interviewed that I was like, you're going to be great. They were great. But it's not good for ratings and it's not good for the league when there's a team that's getting blown out every week. So I really need them to turn the switch back on and shine bright.
Wow. The biggest, just looking at this, the boats, it was leaking, right?
Yeah.
So like, this is faded. It's past tense. This thing's over.
Dang.
I've been saying this since preseason, bro. Like, let's be real. I have been off this. I've been faded for 5 weeks now with this team.
It's annoying. I hate when you're right. You know, I'm gonna pull my Pro Cup card. You were wrong.
I had to.
Hashtag dimmed. Hashtag burnt filament. Yeah, I know about light bulbs. All right, so Panthers, what do you got?
Jungle Kitties.
Wow.
They're tough sometimes, but then they're kitties the other time. So they're not jungle cats. They're not like full grown. They're just kitties, and they've got a little edge to them, so they are jungle. But go ahead.
Yeah, mine was hashtag meow, not roar.
Yeah.
That it's just not as good as we expected. You know, there were a lot of things that people were excited about going into the season. You had Josh Love for season 2. You had Reggie Corbin signed back late. You had Robert Nikomdici, who ended up not even finishing training camp. Like everything everybody was so excited about just kind of fell off, except Warren Saba's been great. Reggie Corbin's been great. Stevie Scott's been good since he came back. But I mean, if you can't figure out that quarterback position and your offensive line's being terrible, I mean, you're really meow. You're not roaring like a lion, like a panther. Yeah. So that sucks. But all right. So hashtag are the breakers and stallions.
Breakers, stallions, maulers we got left. Which one you want to go with first? All
right, let's go with your maulers.
Hashtag forge ahead. You just got to keep going. It's steel. They're growing, man. They were 1-9 last year. They were the only team that didn't have a quarterback outside of the Breakers, right?
Mm-hmm.
That was not in the locker room last year. Like that's a big thing to take on. They didn't have the 34-year-old. You know what I mean? They didn't have the veteran. They're figuring it out, and they've gotten better on offense every week. Well, not every week, but the last 2 weeks it's grown, and they've settled in on a quarterback. And the way the North is kind of shaping up, it kind of is there for the taking. And then in the playoffs, it's just one game against the Generals, right? That's what I'm assuming. And then who knows what the championship, right? Look at the Stars. They completely fell apart. I told you last year that they weren't that good, but they made it all the way to the championship and were close to winning the championship. Yeah. You just got to catch it at the right time. And for some reason, I just feel like the Maulers are catching it at the right time right now.
Mine is hashtag keep hammering.
Yeah.
So I watched a lot of the show Forged in Fire. I even got Kelly to watch an episode. She didn't like it, but it's the episode where it's a competition of 4 bladesmiths go and they have to make a knife in 3 hours. And some of them, dude, they're hitting it and they're like, this is not happening. It's not working. But they just keep hammering, and then eventually they get a good, usable, workable blade, and that's all you need. Yeah. That's right. Because other blades might look perfect, and then they take their first big hit and they break because there's imperfections that you didn't see.
Yeah.
Let's take the breakers. Let's take the breakers.
The Boogie Monster.
The Boogie Monster. There you go.
Well, we're talking about the Maulers, so
there you go.
You want to do the
I
breakers?
think you just keep hammering, and that Maulers team, it goes from a big block of steel that's not very usable to a usable knife that'll get you there. It might not even look good, but it'll get you there. But yeah, let's go.
It's serviceable.
Let's go to the breakers. I got breakers hashtag making waves, man. They made moves this offseason, and I did not believe in them. I really didn't believe in the moves they made. And dang it, they're making waves. So hashtag making waves.
Hashtag wave to playoffs because they're in.
Whatever.
They're on that. Like if there's
what about this?
What's that?
What about this?
What
if this week they go out, they're playing the Showboats?
Yep.
And one of the because the Showboats defensive line is no joke.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Let's say MBT gets hurt. Where's their season?
I think they can figure out two more wins.
Oh my gosh.
In reality, all you got to do is get to 6, right? That's all you got to do. So they only have to go 2-3 the rest of the way. They really
maybe not in the South Division. If in the North Division, 6 wins quite possibly gets you there easily, right? You might even be first.
6 wins, wins it.
South Division, you have the Gamblers and Stallions. The Stallions are playing scrappy and they're finding ways to win, and the Gamblers are starting to hit on all cylinders. If you're the Breakers and you have 4 wins and then you lose your starting quarterback, you start losing, right? Because then you have.
I get what you're saying.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. It's that one little imperfection in the blade, going back to my old obsession. One imperfection in the blade that then you hit it right and the blade snaps. So
I get what you're saying, but let's be real, right?
No, yeah, they're making playoffs. I'm just trying to fight you on it.
I'm just trying to be like, nah. The Gamblers beat the Stallions this week. They're 2 games, and they beat the Boats. They're 2 games up on everyone, 100%. Right? And with all the tiebreakers in their hand. 100%. So I waved the playoffs. I almost put wave to Canton, but I wasn't going to dismiss your Gamblers yet.
Well, okay. Thank you. And then the last team that we were going to do. Stallions. All right. What do you got?
Hashtag glue factory.
Dang. That's dark.
Well, I just feel like they've been hurt. And
they are hurt.
Yeah, I know, but it kind of goes down to the old Yeller thing, and like it just their time has passed.
You're really into animal death,
and dude. They're glue now. They're glue. They're glue. They're glue.
Kelly, dude.
Like,
but I just think they're. I really don't. I see them trending downwards, even though they're getting the wins. They were bailed out by Kane, right?
Yes.
They played a team in week 2 that quit. Like in the first quarter. Like, let's be real. The Boats have shown life.
They were done.
They just quit. I don't think it was the Stallions were dominating. Week 1 it's week 1, right? They played the Breakers, and the Breakers beat them pretty convincingly.
Yeah.
I think they're struggling a little bit more than what people are anticipating. And I know a lot of people have put them at 2 because they're 3-1 record. But man, the Maulers offense had like 280 yards. Like, you're talking about competing against the upper echelon winning championships.
Yeah.
And you're struggling. You need a kick return to
beat the worst offense in the league.
Yes. And I know my Mauler guys watch this show, and I apologize, but
it has not gotten
right now. The facts are the Maulers offense statistically is the worst offense, and especially in the red zone, not getting touchdowns, and they know that. And you can't beat them like with ease. Like, at least the Breakers, it felt like they were in control or somewhat in control. If you watch the Mauler Stallions, you never felt like the Stallions were in control until that touchdown.
No, absolutely. I say hashtag limp to finish. I think, they're the horse that hurt their knee. They didn't let the owner know because they didn't want to get old Yellard.
Yep.
And now they are limping to the finish line. But who knows what place they get, right?
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah.
But I think they're just limping their way. Everybody's hurt. They got Scooby back, but for how long? I see him getting hurt again. He's getting older, so it's tough. Now, let's show. Let me see. There you go. So this is the first week that Webb and I have completely agreed, which is enraging because if you look at our records, I am 2 games behind, and I'm definitely not going to catch him this week because we will get the exact same amount right and wrong. So that is upsetting. Also, fun to note, our wonderful producer, KB, chose the exact same people as well. This was a week of no surprises, weirdly enough. I think the only people I saw, some people had the Stallions, and some people had the Panthers.
Yep.
But otherwise, I mean, Sunday, everybody has those games.
It's Mother's Day. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. You know, hopefully people are still watching. You know, let your mother enjoy the love of the USFL. Who knows? It's a fun time. But now we get to our last part of the show. This is one of my favorite parts of the show because it's the part of the show I don't know what's going to happen. And that's stressful, but also fun. So our wonderful producer, KB, she thinks a long time and takes the time to come up with a good question that is going to be interesting to you and also hard on us, but not too hard because she cares about us. So, KB, what is your blindside question of the week? Oh, well, yeah. Woo! I always forget about that intro. Okay. Now that we have seen the Matchbox cars hit, KB, what you got?
So this week, you know, I don't know how hard of a question it's going to be.
Okay.
It's really more like what I was thinking when I watched, you know, the games last weekend.
Okay.
And it's interesting that to me that you talked about the sideline interview with Chris Wilson.
Yeah. That was crazy.
I appreciate the, you know, the mic and the sideline interviews that the league does with players, coaches, whatever. But can we agree that maybe some of it is a little overdone?
Yes.
You know, like, you know, they're shoving mics in the face of players that are coming off the field who can't even freaking breathe yet. Poor Chris Wilson. That is literally what made me think about asking this question. He is in the middle of calling plays and he's got somebody shoving a microphone in his face, trying to interview him, and is expecting responses. So, like, where do we draw the line? Like, where is it too much?
That I would say was too much. I don't think they should do that again. Was it incredibly cool for me to see as someone who's interviewed Chris Wilson and follows this defense and follows the team? I thought it was awesome, but also I could tell he was annoyed by it. You know, he played it off really well, but it's a huge inconvenience. Would they have done it if we weren't blowing them out? No, because that would be crazy. But we were blowing them out. So
do you know?
I mean,
but in like, what does that add to the value for a viewer, right?
Well, it was cool to me to see the calls. I did get it, but I did agree that it was too much. But I also thought to myself, because I was sitting there, I was thinking, there's no way that they do this if we aren't blowing the Stars out. Because then we could kind of blame the loss on it, right? If suddenly we give up a big touchdown and it's like, well, they were interviewing our freaking defensive coordinator the whole time. Like, how was he supposed to call the correct call? But we're blowing them out, so there was no way that it would affect the game too much. But it was really cool to see, but also it is too much. They don't need to be doing that much. It's like my biggest pet peeve is when they say, oh, we're just going to listen in for this drive.
Right.
Why? It's not that interesting. We don't know what they're talking about at home. You know, I don't know what XY boogie razor means. Great that I heard it. Like that stuff is too much. At some point, you need to just call the football game and let it be what it is.
Like, I enjoy kind of when they sit down on the bench with the guys and they say, you know, what did you see in this play? And they show them the tablet, you know, and they fast forward and rewind and go, well, I saw this and this and this. But like, you know, when you've got somebody that's trying to call plays, or you've got, you know, a guy that has just come off the field and can't even freaking breathe.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like, where do you, like, why is that? Like, what value add is that?
Webb, what you got?
I like it, but I think sometimes it's too much. I like when Joe, especially when Klatt's on and he hears the call and he explains what the call means and he kind of breaks it down for the average fan. I think that builds a fanhood a little bit to try to understand a little bit. Someone that maybe didn't play at a higher level would appreciate that. Listen, they've got to fill the time, right? They don't have the stories. It's not Lamar Jackson. It's not Joe Burrow. There's no history there with a lot of these guys. And like, you can't tell the stories. Oh, remember when Joe Burrow was in 2019 LSU? You can tell some stories, but it's tough to fill all the time, right? And they're not talking about gambling, man. Like, they're
That
not
I am
saying it's
happy about.
7 under.
I
It's over. Oh, look at the touchdown. Like,
right.
football, and it's actually real football, and it's not a Hollywood production. That's it.
Ooh, shots fired. I do agree that I enjoy the fact that it is not, this is, they will acknowledge when they hit the over, but they're not like every time a touchdown score, they're like, oh, you're getting nervous if you bet the over today.
Yeah.
Every time, I do like the fact that, like you said, it's hard to fill in a lot of time. These announcers, they don't know these players the way that we spend so much time learning about these players, talking to these players. A lot of them, they may have never heard of this player until they get the sheet before the game that someone has prepared for them, right? With like their name, college, stats, stuff like that, interesting facts. So you're right. It's harder to fill in that time. And I do enjoy the fact that they are being purposeful with what they do with the time that they need to fill.
I love my guy Boogie, but I've never heard of him until I started following the USFL. With all due respect,
100%.
I know he played for the Wildcats in the XFL in 2020, but like D tackles, they typically don't get the publicity. But this league has given them, with the United by Football last year, the interviews. I just think it can only be a positive. Is it sometimes too much, especially when
100%.
like I remember week 1. Like, the game was intense between the Maulers and Breakers, and they're interviewing Coach Flip in the middle of it. And I was like, what? Like, he's a play calling. And I'm like, this game is actually like, this is the blowout against the Stars. Okay, I see.
Different.
That's game. But like, this game was a 1-score game, and they're talking to Flip, and Flip's like, yeah, whatever. And Flip is he's the one coach in the league where like you what he's thinking by the way
he talks with his face a lot.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Very. Very much so. He just tells you exactly what he's doing. So like that went too far, but I think to fill the gaps, like, what are the big names in this league?
I feel that. I like that point.
Yeah, there's no big, like, the coaches are the names in a lot of points.
True. Like, if you're an average fan tuning in, you don't know these names, right? Yeah. Even if you watched last year, you know a lot more names. Whereas if you're just tuning in, this is your first game coming into week 5 of the USFL. You don't know these players. And I get that. And so it is helpful to interview them on the sideline, to ask them stuff. And it helps you get to know, like, you don't know their history, but it helps you to get to know their personality. And then you say, oh, I like that guy. So
that's the personality right here, right? Shark Dog, right? That's what developed the league a little bit.
I'm glad I see that less on Twitter now, but yes.
Yeah. It's not as popular this year, but what I'm saying is that personality came out and he became a star and a face for the league. So this is the only way they can do it, because with all due respect to all these players, I never heard of Kenji Bahar before he came to the USFL.
You aren't an avid Monmouth fan? That's crazy.
And I think that's part of it. Yeah.
You didn't know the best high school players coming out of Baltimore? What?
I appreciate that perspective, because it makes me, as a viewer, it makes me see things differently. So I appreciate that.
Me too. I actually feel better about it than I did before Webb gave that.
Right.
And Isaiah Henney is the best slot receiver in the league. All right, you can turn it off. I'm out.
No. Justin Hall is
Where are you going? What?
He's saying, because the question that you told us, you said I almost used this question because we didn't know the question we got. So we knew the question you almost gave us.
So full transparency, I poll our network representatives for possible blindside questions. And one of the ones that I was given by one of our contributors was,
Who's the better slot receiver in the league?
They
Isaiah
said
Henne or
they
Justin
said
Hall?
if you really want to make Ace and Webb argue, you should ask who's the better slot receiver, Henne or Justin Hall.
And it's Justin Hall.
Now, my objective here is never to make the two of you argue. But
I respect that.
You
but
don't have to make us that. We always argue.
and again, I really truly try and avoid team centric questions because
Yeah.
you both have your own shows and you talk about your own teams a lot.
Okay.
But should you decide that you want to argue about who's the better slot wide receiver between Henne or Justin Hall, I mean, have at it, gentlemen.
It's Justin Hall.
It's Justin
Isaiah
Hall.
Henne's he's a better returner.
It's Justin Hall, but Isaiah Henne is a unicorn. Another skeleton, man. He is a unicorn. Man, we're big into Halloween. I got kids. But Isaiah Henne is a unicorn. He does a little bit of everything.
He's
saw
like
him
Chris
on the
Rowland.
Sleep. Yeah, exactly. He knocks out his teeth and still plays. You know, he's a tough guy. We saw him at camp. He was one of the leaders on the team. You know, a rah-rah guy, kind of getting around in the troops together. Kind of an older guy than most of the players in the league. I'm not saying he's too old, but I love Isaiah Henne. He's great to have on the team, but right now I can't argue with Hall, right? The numbers, like how many yards receiving does he have?
That's a great question. I don't remember. It's 200 something.
Well, what I'm trying to get at is
he's 100 behind State Strat.
Oh, so he's got like 300, right? Or 200. 200. You're right.
I think it's 200.
My whole point of saying that is the Maulers passing offense did not have 200 yards in 2 weeks. So even if every pass went to Isaiah Henne, he would not have 200 yards. So you got to give it to Hall. Hall's been explosive, but Henne is every time he touches the ball, he could take it to the house. So it's not like I'm throwing shade on Henne. And like I said, he's a leader. So we're not even arguing. So Lowe was defeated, just like the Breakers maybe this week to the Boats.
250 yards, by the way. 250 receiving yards.
Which was 2.5 games
touchdowns.
of Maulers, but whatever.
4 touchdowns. All right. So this has been the USFL Authority, your best show for all USFL news, USFL debate, USFL talk. Man, you can literally go talk to us if you go follow us on social media, on our Twitters, at PocketAces_USFL and at HammerTime_web. Come talk to us, DM us, tag us, like our stuff, retweet it.
Leave a comment.
Leave a comment.
Don't forget about YouTube comments.
YouTube comments, we respond to those too. We love to see it. Our YouTube is where everything is centered. That's where all of our stuff is. Go check it out. When we get 1,000 subscribers, I'm going to finally send out this Cavante Turpin jersey. I've had it for so long now. It's in a bag. It's like pristine. Somebody take it. Oh my gosh. All right, Webb, I'm out.